All right. We're recording, and it's time to roll. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Wake the Fuck Up podcast. I am Uncle E, your charming and delightful host for this fun-filled extravaganza of fun and frivolity. Also, entertainment, engagement, and intelligence. So, I want to thank you all for tuning in, and let's get started. So, I was thinking yesterday about stupid humans. Because yesterday was a very full day of dipshittery. Very full day of dipshittery. I say this because I work with the public. The public seems to generally be retarded, not capable of thinking things through in an intelligent, logical, and rational manner. And you're not allowed to correct those problems because people think you're rude, people think you're an asshole, people think this, that, and the other thing. A point yesterday that happened that really kind of solidified my sickness of the human species and its willingness to be as dumb as possible. I was doing my job, and this idiot decides to not pay attention to what he's doing and tries to run me over. And I, scream at him, and he's just like, "What? What am I doing wrong? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. You're the one that's in the wrong." People like that need a sock to the face. Maybe they might learn that they're doing something wrong. More than likely, if they're anything like my roommate, they will pretend it's everybody else's fault but their own, will place blame on everybody else but themselves. They lack humility. They lack competency, and they don't really give a shit about anyone else but themselves. Now, I have had a very interesting and somewhat disturbing and disgusting life. Being molested as a child, having a mother use me as a tampon in her war against my father, living in a society that teaches you that accountability and responsibility are only for those we need to place blame on and discard. The people who are actually responsible for bad shit don't get any consequences. Maybe a slap on the wrist, maybe transferred to a different department if you're in the government, but that's about it. If you're a cop and you shoot someone, chances are you're going to have your own police department protecting you. If you're a politician and you screw over the general populace, you're going to have a herd of gang members, whether they're Democrat or Republican, protecting you from the consequences of your actions. Unless you do something so egregious that they're like, we have to throw you to the wolves to save ourselves. Okay. Now, I see most of the world around me, and I am thoroughly disgusted. Okay. I don't think I can put it any better than that. We screw each other over for fun and kicks and giggles. We don't discipline anybody unless it's absolutely necessary, and even then we discipline the wrong people. I remember specifically I had a racist fucking manager back when I was working for McDonald's, and she had no problem making fun of the Mexicans on the crew. Well, I didn't appreciate that because they were good workers, they did their job, and they didn't deserve her abuse. So I gave her a little bit back that she gave them. And I'm the one who gets punished, not her. Because in the words of my manager, she's a woman and we can't do anything to her. Yes. And this was back in the late 90s when sexual harassment was going through its boom. Basically, it was one of the first Me Too movements where women were tired of men's bullshit, and they had to make men pay. And there were shitty men. There are shitty men. That's a given. We're humans. We're fucktards most of the time. Seriously fucking fucktards. And yet, for some odd reason, We don't consider that in our daily discourse, that a lot of people are fucktardian nightmares. And I know a lot of people are sitting there going, oh, those things didn't happen, blah, 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 or finding some confounded excuse as to why you don't have to believe what I'm telling you. I could be a liar. You're right, I could be a liar. I'm not, but I could be. And that gives you enough of an excuse to dismiss what I'm saying. Which, again, is another reason why I'm disgusted by this fucking species. It is what it is. We're supposed to be kind and considerate towards one another, yet we treat each other like shit when it's easily convenient. The only time we really care about anybody else but ourselves is when our convenience is threatened, when our dependency on others is threatened. Then all of a sudden, somebody cares. Let's see. What was the story I read? Oh, yeah. What was it? A woman had kid. Baby daddy killed himself. And she got pissed because now she wasn't going to get any more child support. She didn't care that he died. She didn't care that he killed himself. All she cared about was the money that she was getting from him. You want to tell me that, selfishness isn't the norm? Yeah, selfishness is typically the norm. That's part of the reason why I don't want to have kids, because I know they're going to grow up in a society that preaches selfishness endlessly. It preaches contempt for groups, colors, genders, religions. Endlessly. I'm supposed to, fight against that all the time? That sounds like fun. I'm supposed to raise children in an environment that teaches them to be shitbag scumsuckers? No, I don't want to do that. I'd rather find a way to live forever so I can walk this earth and go, God, I wish I could get rid of this species. I'm sorry. I know a lot of you out there do think what I'm saying, but you're too afraid to say it because of the sheeple who surround us all and want to pretend that the world is great and everything's hunky-dory and the world with humans is so exceptional. Yeah, sure, whatever you say. And again, why don't I want children? Well, again, there's no consequences. If you hit your child reasonably and rationally, not as an emotional tampon, not as a need to exercise violence for the sake of violence. No, it's disciplinarian only. That's abuse. How? I'd like to know. Because nobody ever seems to want to play that game. Well, corporal punishment is wrong. Not all the time. Sometimes you do need to kick someone's ass for doing stupid shit. You want to wait until they have to go to jail before you teach them some consequences? Well, that's smart. Hey, let's wait until it's time for them to kill somebody and go to prison before we tell them that that's wrong. And we enforce some consequences. Again, stupid. But that's the society we live in. Consequences only happen for certain people. And usually when the shit hits the fan, not before, when things can be prevented. Again, I get tired of it. I get tired of it. I'm sick of it. It's bullshit. I'm not allowed to discipline my children in a proper manner. And again, I'm not going to beat the shit out of them for no reason. I'm going to give them some swats on the butt, some whacks upside the head that says, don't fucking do that. Don't cheat others. Mom, Dad, he won't share. And it's like, is it his? Yes. Did you ask him for it? No. Then he doesn't have to. Or she doesn't have to. That, oh my God, I can't tell you how many times I've seen parents tell their kids to share when they don't have to. They just say it to get the kid to shut up and leave them alone. So you have bad parenting. That's encouraged. And if those parents were never taught how to be good parents by good parents, guess what? They're going to be shitty parents and they're going to raise shitty kids. Look around you. How many people pop out children like a microwave oven? Boop, done, boop, done, boop, done. Do they raise them? No. They hand them off to daycare. They hand them off to the grandparents, or they hand them off to the school while they sit there and play on their phone and pretend that all they care about is pleasure and entertainment. Do I want a wife that's going to do that? Fuck no. And after almost 50 years of watching people raise kids with both good and bad parents, I can say with absolute certainty, bad parents breed bad children. The 1 time out of 10 that child is going to turn out better than the parents does not make up for the 9 times out of 10 that child is going to turn into a piece of shit because they had piece of shit parents. You know, getting your kids to do the things that they're supposed to do, like chores, cleaning house, cooking food, making themselves sandwiches, cleaning the floor, mopping the floor, making their own bed, getting good grades in school. How do I motivate them? If I'm not allowed to be a quality parent, which means corporal punishment once in a while, intellectual and emotional manipulation, which is necessary, consequences, introduction of consequences, and what's going to happen if you don't do what you're supposed to do. If I'm not allowed to do any of those things, what's the point of having children? If I know damn well that they're going to grow up to be shitbags like the rest of the bastards I see around, no, don't want to. Which again, another reason why I don't want to have kids. Finding a good woman. You always hear women bitching about, oh, I can't find a good man. I can't find a good man. Maybe you don't attract them. Maybe you're not a good woman. Is that part of the problem? Well, not in your mind. It's everybody else's fault but yours. You're perfect in your own way, and you don't have to change for nothing. You're a perfect 10. Right? Because if you're a perfect 10, there's no chance of improvement. Because you think you're perfect and you don't ever have to change. You don't have to become a better human being because you're already a perfect 10. You're a princess. Not a fucking joke. And it's like I said, it's like, why would I want to raise children knowing that I'm going to probably find a wife that's going to cheat on me? And there's no consequences for it. If I got buku buck, she can take it, almost all of it. And there's no consequences if she did anything wrong, but if she did anything wrong, it's my fault. A woman is being abusive towards a man. Well, he must have had something to do with it. He must have deserved it. He must have done something to deserve it. Yeah, that's a great way to as a society to think. A woman can be hitting a man, beating the shit out of him. Well, he must have deserved it. He must have done something to deserve it. Really? Well, that's great. That means you don't like men, you hate men, and you think that men are pieces of shit. Because obviously he's guilty. Doesn't matter if he's innocent, doesn't matter what. He's guilty. And yes, why am I doing this rant today? Because I have things that need to be said, and I'm sure a few of you are in dire need of hearing it. Whether you want to be offended or not, I don't know, and I really don't give a shit. Because again, I want to go to Mars just so I can get the fuck off this planet away from the species, okay? I've been alive for 50 fucking years, almost. couple years short of that, but I've been alive for almost 50 fucking years, and I've watched most of life around me go swirly, go down the fucking drain. Okay? We're in a collapsing society here in America. We're so far in debt, we've got no chance of ever paying it off. We're more concerned with virtue signaling and social engineering than we are about responsibilities, obligations, duties. We don't encourage people to work hard. And when things need to be done, everybody looks around and stares at each other, wondering who's going to do something when nobody wants to do anything. Story about that. Buddy of mine watched a guy hit a pole. Car catches on fire. Everybody's looking around like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? He goes up, fucking does what he needs to do, saves the person, brings him out. Everything's cool. All those people who were standing on the sideline not doing shit, they were too afraid to get involved, and they didn't want to take the risk or the chance. Cowards. That's what that comes down to. Too afraid to do what they needed to do and fail. So they didn't do anything. And this society is full of that. We have to pay people exorbitant amounts to do the things that need to be done because so few people are willing to do them. You know, how many times have you heard people say, we've got tremendous amounts of needs of mechanics, electricians, carpenters, builders, that kind of stuff. You know, actual crucial things that need to be there, people that need to be there to make society run. Huge shortage. Why? Because everybody wants to be an actor. Everybody wants to be a producer. Everybody wants to be a musician. Everybody wants to be an entertainer. Everybody wants to be in sports. Nobody actually wants to work because, of course, there's so little reward for working your ass off. You've got a bunch of haters who hate you for having more than them and doing more than them, even though they're too lazy to get off their dead fucking ass and do something for themselves. Positively. Not negatively, positively. Which will enrich their lives, will make their lives better, and everybody else around them. How many of you blame others for your own problems? I know I've got plenty of problems. And a lot of them have to do with my way of dealing with those problems. I don't like dealing with people who are liars, cheaters, and fucktards. So most of the time I go into isolation because I'm not allowed to do what I need to do to correct the problems. Smack upside the head, kick to the testicles, castration. Because some of these people should not be allowed to breed. And it's usually the dumbest ones of the bunch that breed the most. Idiocracy, everybody. Watch it. It's not supposed to be a documentary, but unfortunately it is one. It's becoming one because people are too fucking stupid to care. And do right. And be intelligent. There's no fucking reward for it. I have been criticized on a couple of different fronts for knowing more than most of my coworkers. And yet, according to my coworkers, I'm the piece of shit for knowing more. How many remember school? Grading on a curve. If you were the smart one, you were the piece of shit. Not the dumb ones at the bottom of the curve, but you, the smart one. You're the problem. Why? Because you're throwing off the curve and making everybody look bad. You're throwing off the curve and making everybody look bad. So you're being punished for being intelligent and being competent. Wow, that's great. Police officers. All of you wonder why you can't get quality, decent cops in this society who like to shoot people indiscriminately, beat the crap out of everybody indiscriminately, and seem to have problems with their emotional control? There was a case a long time ago where a bunch of A-level students, very intelligent people, went to apply for the police department, and the police department told them, no, you're too smart for us. What? What do you mean we're too smart for you? We don't need you. You're too smart. You'll question. You'll try to hold people accountable. We can't have that. And when those cops sued, they lost. Because the police department can hire whoever they want. And if they want to hire C-level students, they can hire C-level students. And it's not called discrimination. Again, I am going to say what needs to be said, whether you like it or not. Because quite honestly, I am sick of the way this society has gone. I am sick of the way this species wants to act. And I am really fucking tired of stupid people being worthless. And I know how many of you are going to pitch a fit, throw a hissy fit, act like a 5-year-old child and throw a tantrum. I know. I've seen it so many times. It's not new to me. It's not new. It's one of the reasons why I typically go into isolation when I have to deal with stupid shit. It's just because I'm not... How do I reverse? How do I turn it around? How do I get things right? How? When I know that all of the avenues of correction are not allowed to me. Or to anybody else, really. You know? Let's use modern politics, okay? When Donald Trump ran for president the first time, Hillary Clinton used her position within the Obama administration to start an investigation into the Trump presidency, or the Trump election campaign. And, of course, she used her connections to get the CIA and various other alphabet agencies to start probing his ass off of a falsified dossier that was created through the Democratic National Committee Opposition Research Department. It's along those lines, anyway. And so for 4 years, when he got elected, we got to hear about how he was a Russian collusionist. Even though Hillary Clinton took millions from Russians when she wasn't the Secretary of Defense, or Secretary of State, sorry, Secretary of State, my apologies. She obviously took millions of dollars from Russians, but that didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was Donald Trump was the guilty one. He was the guilty one. We know it. We've got the research, even though it was falsified. We've got the research that proves it. And for 4 years, we had to listen to this hysteria. And the media was just nonstop, always, always, always harping on you. Like an abusive parent trying to get you to fuck over the other parent as a child. That's what it looked like to me, because I recognized that bullshit. And when Trump came up for election, everybody voted for Biden because they were tired of being berated, belittled, and abused by the media, the government, and their Democrat sycophants and lackeys in society. And so they voted for Biden, thinking, okay, please, this abuse is going to go away. There won't be any more of this nonsense. We'll finally get some peace. And for 4 years, we still heard about Trump being a Russian collusionist. Even though it's not Trump in the presidency, we still heard about it. So even though the guy's not in charge, he's still in their heads. Because they know he should have won that 2020. If it hadn't been for the media protecting Biden endlessly, and now that we know that they were not only protecting him endlessly, but they were shielding him from everything, including his dementia. They knew he had dementia at the start, but they didn't care. They wanted him to be president instead of Trump. So you literally had the Democrat side, along with the government, purposely keeping a dementia-ridden man in position of power in order to have the guy they'd rather have than the guy that the people want. And when Democrats talk about democracy, it's a circle jerk. They don't care about democracy. What did they do during the DNC when they kicked Biden to the curb? Did they give the Democrats a chance to pick their next, president? Or did they shove Kamala Harris down your throat? Did you get a choice? No, you didn't. Because in a democratic society, you're supposed to get a choice, right? You're supposed to get a choice. And here you were told, take it or leave it. Isn't that great? So the party of democracy that screams endlessly about there being threats to democracy has proven itself to be a threat to democracy. Again, why do I want children when there's liars and cheats and frauds at the top of the chain who have no accountability or responsibility, and there is no consequences for any of the horrible shit that they do? People at the top set the trend for the people down the ladder. And if you know you've got corrupt, incompetent individuals who care nothing about no one but themselves, you are going to have a society that does the exact same thing. They don't care about anybody or anybody but themselves. Anything or anybody but themselves. Doesn't matter. The only thing they care about is what they can get out of you. And if they can't get anything out of you, you're disposable. And if they can get something out of you, you're used until you are disposable. And then you're discarded. Isn't it great? Makes me want to go out and find the right woman who's not going to cheat on me, who's not going to fuck me over, who's going to raise my kids the way I need to raise them, so that way they don't turn out to be fucking morons and pieces of shit like some people I fucking know. Yeah. I know everybody wants to pretend that humanity is this awesome species that's so cool and so great. And yet, throughout our history, we've proven that every once in a while will be some shining lights. But most of the time, we're a fucking flashlight of darkness. We're a flashlight of darkness most of the time. We'll get a couple hundred years of some decency, and then it'll just go to shit almost immediately. After a couple generations, down. Why? Because most of the people who had something to believe in order to maintain the awesomeness that needed to happen, those people were gone. What happens to rich kids whose parents don't really give a shit about them? They turn into nightmares, right? Because mommy and daddy didn't give a shit about them, so why should they give a shit about anybody else? I was raised by nannies. My nannies didn't give a fuck about my parents other than getting a paycheck. So that's all I care about. You learn what society teaches you. You are programmed with what society teaches you. And because we've got a TV in our hand, or in our living room, or in our bedroom, sometimes even in our bathroom, teaching us everything we need to know. Programming us with everything they want us to know. You're going to get what you're given. Selfish, shitty humans. Are they all that bad? No. I've known plenty of people who have been good, decent people. People who didn't want to fuck anybody over. People who treated everybody with kindness, courtesy, and respect. I know plenty of people who I plunk down whatever to help them and support them. And I know a few of them who have done so for me. To them, I say thank you. You're a redeeming, quality human being. Not a piece of shit like so many other. Again, and this is the thing that I really want to harp on. Have you ever heard of Experiment 25 or Universe 25? I know I've said a couple things on this before, but it was a utopian experiment with mice to see what they would do when everything was provided. They didn't have any obligations other than to themselves. Within a few generations, that society decayed, corroded, and pretty much everybody died. And why? Well, there's no challenges left to society, so you don't have anything to fight for or try to build up. Everything's already provided for you. You've got all the food you need. You've got all the recreation you need. You've got all the living space you need. Everything's provided for you, so there's no challenges left. So then you start creating challenges. You start creating societal issues. You start creating your own problems to try and fix them. And eventually, yes, the society died. Because eventually, everybody forgot how to live at a minimum level to be able to bring kids into the world. The babies died because the parents didn't know how to take care of them. They didn't know how to feed them. They didn't know how to teach them because they themselves had not been taught. Because life was so easy and so simple, they didn't have to. They just took it for granted. And eventually the society died and all the mice pretty much fucked off. And they repeated this experiment multiple times, hence the reason why it was 25. And every single time, it ended the same. And when I read into this and I did my, intelligent, dive into it, I realized that that's what's going to happen here. That's what's happening here right now. Birth rates are down, right? Marriages are down, right? The media endlessly gins up every overly dramatic thing it needs to in order to gin up controversy, clickbait ratings, that kind of stuff. They don't care that they're providing news and information. They just care that they're getting you to tune in and watch. I mean, the last, CNN just got nailed massively with a defamation lawsuit that's going to cost them millions, if not tens, if not hundreds of millions. And why? Because they don't care about accuracy, truth. They don't. They just care about your willingness to watch. So if they produce some sensational nonsense, guess what? It's worth more to them than the payouts they're going to have to pay out to the people that they've wronged. I mean, how many defamation lawsuits has the media been involved in the last, let's say, decade? And yet, how many times have they corrected themselves? Are they publishing more truth or less truth? Well, the fact that they're still getting popped for defamation, libel, slander, all of the fun shit that they're having to pay out for, shouldn't they learn a lesson? No. Why fuck it? The consequences, they're meaningless. Again, I want people to understand that how is it in a society of corruption and incompetence that good people are supposed to thrive? They're not. They're not. They can, but they're not. Because again, all the jobs in this society that need to be filled are not being filled because most people don't want to work. Most people are lazy. Most people have been taught to be lazy. Nobody wants consequences. Who wants to be a manager? Well, I don't want to deal with that bullshit. There's so much nonsense that I have to deal with. Yeah, exactly. And if nobody deals with it, that means there's a bunch of cooks, no chefs, no one running the joint, no one running the show, which means all the cooks think they're now chefs, and they're going to act like chefs. They're going to act as if they know what they're doing. Doesn't matter that they don't. Doesn't matter that they don't have enough experience to actually pretend that they know what they're doing. Again, I know a lot of you are probably railing against this right now, wanting to post some, huge diatribe telling me what an idiot I am, and go ahead. Chances are, oh well, you've got freedom of speech. You can do that. It's not illegal to think for yourself, but they're getting there. We're making it. We've got a society that's screaming towards the fascism boulevard. And they don't seem to care. They don't seem to realize it. Again, I'm supposed to find a woman who cares about me, loves me, in a way that my grandparents had. But that's possible. I know there have been a couple women that probably could have been that for me. And because I've only seen whores, hood rats, and shitty women on a regular basis, kind of hard to believe that there are good women out there. It's like you women who scream and cry about finding good men. What do you do when you find them? Do you treat them like the shitty men that you're used to? Yes, you do. Met plenty of women who dress up like hood rats and then wonder why they can't find a good man. Well, you're dressing like a hood rat. You're dressing like a hooker. You're dressing like somebody who charges for money. You're dressing like a gold digger. Hey, look at my tits. They're great. They're wonderful. Love them. Need them. Stare at them. Pay for them. Is there anything else that I can do for you? No. You're an ATM with a penis. That's all I need. Okay, cool. Have a good one. Don't want that kind of woman. I want a woman who's going to be honorable, loving, compassionate, concerned about me, as I will be about her. I can find them. It's a needle in a haystack, but I can find them. How am I going to raise kids when most of them are raised by daycares, schools, and incompetent media? I stare at TV all day long. Why? Because, put the kid in front of the TV. Here's a new parent. Get raised by them, because I'm busy staring at my YouTube. I'm busy watching my program. You go do something else. It's kind of hard to raise kids that aren't addicted to media when media is constantly shoved down your fucking throat. And it's, like I said, being ran by clickbait whores. Why is that a good thing? It's not. But why is that a good thing that should be lauded? No, it's not. It shouldn't be. More people distrust the media in this country than they trust them. Yet they still exist. They're still watched. The ratings don't ever go down except for certain networks. And then, when the opposition comes around, those networks go right back up. I mean, shit. CNN, MSNBC had high ratings when Trump was getting his shit caved in. But as soon as Trump won, their ratings went to shit. We're living in a collapsing society that's broke. We're not the richest society in the world. We're broke. When we have more debt than we have assets, we're broke. There's no two ways about it. That's why every time I hear somebody say, hey, we're the richest country in the world, in the history of the world. How? We've got more debt than we have assets. All somebody has to do is say, hey, I want these bonds paid off now, and this country collapses immediately. Hey, we've got a shit ton of your debt bonds that we want repaid now. We can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? Well, we don't have the money for it. Well, you need to get some money. Well, let's print us more. No, because it means you've got to print more bonds and produce more debt. Somebody has to buy in order for that previous debt to get paid for. I can look at the world around me and I see consequences that need to be had and none are being produced. If you want me to have hope, I don't. Hope is a fool's errand. It is. It's a fool's errand. Do I have hope that society is going to get better? No. Because it takes strong, competent, competitive people who give a shit to stand up and be counted. And those people know better because they know what's going to happen to them. They're going to get ramrodded and railroaded every fucking time by a whole herd of haters who are so corrupt and incompetent, they will do everything they can to maintain their own position and put you down for it. You know, a line from Aliens. You know, Sigourney Weaver is talking to the piece of shit, you know, corporate bureaucrat. And she's like, I don't know which species is worse. You don't see them fucking each other over for a bigger percentage. That's humanity in a nutshell. We'll fuck each other over for a better percentage. And to give you fewer crumbs to survive on. Because, of course, I gots to get mine. You ain't got shit to get. End of podcast. You want this world to be a better place, you have to step up as well as I. And we have to start delivering consequences to the scumbags and shit demons. And most of those people are going to fight like a 5-year-old child throwing a temper tantrum when you try to introduce consequences and reality to them. You can either keep fighting or walk away. And with as much bullshit as I've seen over my decades of life, most of the time walking away is a much better option because you're not going to affect the change you want to affect. Not with the quickness that you're hoping to. The old adage of a lie will make its way around the world twice before the truth has a chance to put on its shoes. People can lie about you all fucking day long, and everybody will believe it. Until the moment where the truth actually goes concrete. But by then it's too late. Your life has already been destroyed. Everything about you has been wiped clean. You're literally getting ready to hang yourself before the truth goes, hey, guess what? You were right. You did do what was the right thing to do. Doesn't matter now. Some of you are probably so pissed off, and the few of you that are tuning in, and I wish you the best. If you want to live your life the better way and try to make this world a better place, more power to you. I'm your ally on that one. But I'm also going to be rational and realistic and say, what's your chances? What do you need to do to actually make your hope of reality a reality? I'll help you. I have no problems. Some of your solutions aren't going to be enjoyed by me, and honestly, if they are dumb solutions that have no chance of success, I will let you know. And if you still ignore me and tell me I'm an idiot, cool. Walk away. If they're not going to listen, what's the point of talking? If somebody's not listening, what's the point of talking? If they think that they don't have to listen, well, great, wonderful. Don't listen. I don't have to speak. I want to speak. I need to speak. I have to speak. But if you don't want to listen, I don't have to do any of those three things. Because I know it's a waste of my time. This right here, I don't think it's a waste of my time because I know there are a few people who actually listen and believe and want to do right. To those people I'm talking to, cool. To the people who are dumb as fuck and want to keep on doing the exact same dumb as fuck shit that they've always done, I hope one day you wake up and listen. Wake the fuck up and listen. Ugh. Empty stomach. All right, guys. Well, I'm out. I'm done. And I want to thank you all for letting me take some of your time. And see you next time. Peace.